Sarah from Ned and Mimi here, and in this tutorial I am going to show you how to crochet the forked cluster stitch. So this stitch gives a beautiful texture and it's very simple. It's basically a double crochet cluster stitch, but it's worked over 2 stitches instead of working the cluster into the same stitch. And this stitch can be used for anything really, from hats to scarves to headbands, ear warmers, and I do have a sample here of a hat that I made with this stitch. So this hat is worked in the round from the top down, and then the ribbing added at the end, and this is the exact stitch pattern that I'm going to show you today. So I will link to that pattern below, and I will also link to written instructions for how to crochet this stitch. So let's get started. Now for my sample I am going to use Furl's Wander acrylic yarn, so it's weight 4 worsted weight yarn, and I'm going to use my 5mm hook. Okay, so let's get going. So as always I am going to start with a slip knot on my hook, and I am going to start chaining. So the nice thing about the stitch is you can make your chain as long or as short as you want. So I am going to chain 19 for my swatch. So that's the chain done. Now straight away I'm going to begin with a forked cluster stitch. So I'm going to skip the first 2 chains on my hook and I'm going to work into the 3rd chain here. So I yarn over, insert my hook into that 3rd chain from the hook, yarn over again and pull up a loop, and now I have 3 loops on my hook. Then I yarn over again, insert my hook into the next chain, yarn over and pull up a loop again, and now I have 5 loops on my hook. And to finish the stitch I'm going to yarn over and pull my hook through the first 3 loops, and then yarn over a second time and pull it through the remaining 3 loops. So yarn over, pull through the first 3 loops, yarn over again and pull through the remaining 3 loops. And that is my first forked cluster stitch made. Now for the next stitch I am going to work the first leg back into that same chain that I just worked into, and the next chain. So I'll yarn over, insert it into that same chain, yarn over and pull up a loop, then yarn over, insert it into the next chain, yarn over and pull up a loop again, then yarn over, pull through my first 3 loops, yarn over, pull through my next 3 loops, and I'm going to continue that pattern all the way across. So let's just do a few more of those slowly. Yarn over, insert it into the chain just worked, 3 loops in the hook, yarn over again, insert it into the next chain, 5 loops, yarn over, pull through 3 loops, yarn over, pull through the remaining 3 loops. Okay, so I have worked those forked cluster stitches all the way across my chain, and I just have 1 more left to go. So how I'm going to finish off this row is I'm going to work 1 last forked cluster into the second last chain and the last chain, and then I'm also going to work a double crochet into that last chain, and that's just to give a nice straight edge to our work when we're working in rows, because otherwise the edge would slant, as the forked cluster stitches tend to slant by themselves anyway. Okay, so just do our double crochet in there, Okay, so that's the first row done. Now the second row is really easy. It's just going to be a row of single crochet stitches all the way across. So sometimes with this stitch you might see continuous rows of forked cluster stitches, but I actually love the texture that you get from alternating between the forked cluster row and the single crochet row. So that's what I'm going to do here. So for row 2, I'm going to chain 1 and turn, and then I simply single crochet all the way across the row. Now, the important thing to note here at the end of the row is that we're just going to work the last single crochet into the first forked cluster. So that chain 2 that we skipped at the very start, that does not count as a stitch. So we're not going to work into that turning chain. So we just finish the row with a single crochet, and that is the second row complete. Now for the third row, which is also going to be a forked cluster row, we are going to start with a chain 2, and this chain 2 again does not count as a stitch. It's literally just there to keep the edges straight, and we're going to go straight away into a forked cluster stitch. So into that first single crochet, yarn over into the second single crochet, and then complete that stitch as we did before. Yarn over, insert it into the same stitch as the one we just worked into, yarn over, insert into the next stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through the first 3 loops, yarn over and pull through the remaining 3 loops. And as with the first row, we are just going to repeat that pattern all the way across, and then finish with a double crochet in the last stitch. So I am just at the end of the row, and I'm going to work the final forked cluster stitch, and then I'm going to end with a double crochet also into that last stitch. And there you have it. That is everything you need to know to crochet the forked cluster stitch. So you can simply repeat those 2 rows, alternating between the forked cluster and the single crochet rows for as long as you need to. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have enjoyed this tutorial on how to crochet the forked cluster stitch. For more tutorials and free crochet patterns, please consider subscribing. Thank you so much. Take care.